Hello, ladies and gents, people of the world. Take your pick. All our assistive service dogs, they're just as important. Welcome to another episode of the Digital Access Show. This show is where we look at communication, we look at disability, and we look at how we as a society and we as a community can improve our communication with everyone. Today's guest, I've only talked to twice, and I met her through the lovely Lisa Young from II Low Vision Services. And Jaceen lives in regional Queensland, Gladstone to be exact. So Jaceen Ross, thank you for coming on the show and giving us your time.
Thank you very much for having me, Narelle. I'm a little bit humbled and a little bit excited and a little bit nervous.
Well, we're just going to have a chat, really. But Jaceen, can you tell us a bit about yourself? Where you came from? Do you have a disability? What is it?
Sure. Narelle introduced me correctly. I'm Jaceen. I live in a regional and have grown up in regional and rural settings for most of my life. At 8 years old, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which is a chronic disease, and progressively from that diagnosis at around 26, I was diagnosed with diabetic retinopathy and lost my vision to it. I have retained some vision, and while limited, I'm classed as a legally blind person. So I guess the challenges for me have been, a lot of different access points: medical access, digital access, service access, family education, employment loss, all of that type of thing that come with living in a rural and regional setting where services aren't as widely available, and time between. So what else? I also have a couple of other hidden disabilities as well, and yeah, I guess that's me in a nutshell. I live with my partner. I have a 14-year-old daughter as of yesterday. She is 14, so she had her birthday, and that's us. And our most of our services are in our capital city, around 600 kilometres away. So medically speaking, we're quite detached and all of that, and spread over 600 k's anatomically speaking.
Yeah, I understand about growing up rurally, because I'm like you. I grew up out in the bush. And yeah, I remember as a kid we know now when I actually started losing my sight, that even just to get a pair of glasses, it was a minimum hour drive, sometimes 2 hours, depending on where the optometrist was. Then you'd wait for 6 weeks, a month, and then the glasses would arrive in the mail, and then your mother had to learn how to fit glasses because there was no one to do it.
Yeah. In our day, I remember having my first issues at around 12, 14 with the diabetes, and I was told I had an astigmatism and needed to wear glasses similarly to my daughter. But I remember having that appointment, and I remember at least like a 6-month wait, just because we were on a pension to go through the hospital subsidy scheme at the time. The wait list for that was intense. And as a kid, kids are really fond of having a dig and having a go. So yeah, it made it was quite an interesting experience in comparison to what we have available to us now, for sure. But
go on, Jaceen. Yeah, because from your perspective, living in a regional area, what if we take each of the challenges down, even transport? What are the transport challenges that you have? Are buses, or if there is public transport, I'm not sure, are they set up to help people with disability?
Not really, no. We do have local buses. I won't even get into the the ability for public transport, but I will say we do have local buses. Most of the runs are school time, and maybe a couple of runs in between there. That is not accessible to people with a disability as much as it could be. The QR codes are unavailable. So when you scan your QR code over for the bus timetable, it's not there.
Yeah.
A lot of us are ringing in. We have to ring our train people to book the ticket because the timetable is just insane to look at or use voiceover. There's just too much.
Yeah.
It's not simplified. There's no tactile markers on our platform in Gladstone, which is I found very interesting.
Yeah. That
Public,
would be quite dangerous, actually.
it is. It's actually public knowledge. You can go onto the website, check out Gladstone's platform, and it'll tell you it's got a crossbar to the tactile markers. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, and to go from here, say, to Brisbane, there's probably 1 or 2 buses a day, 12, 13 hours apart. Same with the train. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily, in 2024, I don't think we should be that isolated for public transport, but we are.
And you are on the coast of Queensland too, which is quite interesting.
Very much so. We're on the major thoroughfare right through to Cairns and Brisbane. So yeah, it's very interesting. And then, thinking of people out west, their limitations for public transport are as limited as ours in a bigger town. So yeah.
So for you, you'd be very reliant on taxis then?
Taxis or the beautiful friends and family who are not working, because it is a very heavy working town, which is why we have limited access to services, through either Vision Australia or Guide Dogs.
Yeah. So what about even like doing your shopping?
My wonderful partner has been the person who goes and does the shopping whilst he's not working. And so, as he gets back into work, I will have to make a change of circumstances, potentially through NDIS, or if I'm already out and about, I have to ask a friend if they don't mind giving me, an extra 5 or 10 minutes to grab a few groceries. But honestly, Narelle, I haven't done a full grocery shop on my own for a very long time.
Yeah. But even are the support workers available to help you?
There are. I don't have the hours in the plan, so accessibility for that's a whole different topic.
Yeah, that's a whole different topic there, yeah.
What's deemed reasonable and necessary in a regional town is not necessarily reasonable, necessary in a metropolitan area where you have these accesses.
Yeah. But it'll be even down to the education system. You've got a teenage daughter, she'd be in high school, and there'd be all the, your husband going back to work. So that means then there's more issues there as well, because the notes coming home from school, the homework, you name it.
Yes. Already there is a lot of paperwork as she's going into that 14-year-old employability earn and learn phase, because she's not sure whether she'll stay learning. She'll remain in TAFE type education, but she wants to get a job as well. And that's a whole new ball game to navigate, and if my partner's at work and I only get 2 hours a week support, it does make it very, very tricky and very taxing.
And I know that, TAFE Queensland is not accessible either, which makes it another issue for you. They try to be, but they are definitely not. What about even things, the simple things like we've talked about reading the bus numbers. You can't because it's not accessible,
No.
and it's even paying your bills, things like that. Because do you do it on paper? Is the local council really aware of digital accessibility? And are your bills, your rates, your water, your all of those little things that we all use, are they accessible for you?
I think we've been a little bit lucky in the paper format. They will still send them out via paper.
Mm.
However, trying to get that enlarged, no. I couldn't really. I know they've just had a Dylan Alcott's crew come up to do an access and inclusivity planning workshops. I think they were called something
Yeah,
like it, but they got everyone in the same room and did a kind of a community consult about phasing all the challenges with all the different disabilities and hidden
yeah,
disabilities. But as we speak, access, the schools are painful. The schools can be painful. They will, to try and save paper, they will try and put everything on an A, maybe 5. I think it's A5, the smaller size,
yep,
half an
yep,
A4.
yep,
Excuse the dogs in the background, everybody.
yep.
We that does make it challenging to sign,
Mm.
because even when you use your little sign card with the
Yep.
cutout in it, you're still capturing smaller information that can be really, and we can't read that because it might be that the printer's running out of ink and they'll still
Mm.
send it out, but it's still legible for them or
Yep.
anyone who's cited, but it's not for us. And so having to get them to send it, even on my phone, I have no digital access because I can't use my pen, my
Yep.
call it
Your
digital pen,
stylus. Yep.
but I have to take the iPad, but the iPad doesn't have cellular data, so now we have to hotspot it. So yeah, I don't think service providers, where it comes to digital accessibility, really know how tricky that is for a person with a disability.
Mm. Do you think there's much awareness of disability in your region?
I think there is for specific
Mm.
disabilities, your visible ones. So, mobility, so elderly and mobility, someone with a broken leg, um, someone with a walking cane, somebody with a assistance dog that's more of a for other, as in a, what do they call them?
Like
For
calming dogs,
anxiety.
epileptic
Yeah. Yep.
awareness
Yep.
dogs. Yeah.
But for a person with a white cane, there's a very limited number in our time. I know I'm out and about, and maybe one other I've seen with a white cane. I know there's a lot more out there who see service providers every couple of months,
Mm.
but they're not getting out and about. And if they are, they're not got the aid with them, like the white cane or anything
Yeah.
that is visible. I think for visible disabilities it is, but for those kind of hidden ones, and you would think, with the amount of population that struggle with the spectrum of vision loss, there'd be more.
Yeah.
uh, that's more than 2/3 of there's around 2/3 of the population
Yeah.
struggling with sight issues, and still very limited awareness and understanding.
What do you think could be done in the regions feasibly, reasonably, cost effectively? What do you think could be done?
That's interesting. So I have a pardon the pun, I have a vision for
Yeah.
building a resource centre closer to home. So whether that has resources for sensory issues for ASD and neurodivergence, or autism and neurodivergent spectrum, a resource centre for vision loss. So having like Toowoomba used to, where they have a centre to come and, you know, work with us longer through the week,
Yeah.
to have that ability for service providers to come together in the room and have that place where it's, you know, available for training services, aids, all of that. And I did have this idea, I'd love to see a social enterprise scheme, whether I can facilitate it or not, I don't know. But having conversations with people or stakeholders to bring a maybe like a social scheme for canes and things for those people that can't afford or haven't got access to these aids. There are so many people that cannot afford to go traveling to Brisbane to get training for a cane.
And
I know.
yeah, it's not just the travel, it's the accommodation, it's the food, it is, and it's having, you've got to have support workers available to get you around. Moving around as a person with disability is not
Yeah.
a cheap thing.
No, it's if you've never gone from a rural town and you've gone legally blind and you've maybe traveled to Brisbane once or twice, that is a huge burden. And I mean it in the most polite way when I say the stress of even contemplating going on your own so you don't rip your family out of whatever they got going on. Or, you know, there's been so many times that they've said, you know, oh, just your partner can drive you down. And, you know, you've got the school saying every day counts. So for what looks like, you know, a day trip, that's a 12-hour return for us. You know, that it's just not.
It's
just
not easily done.
no. It
And
shouldn't
it's
even
also,
be a suggestion.
and it's also too, I don't think many people realize, and it would be, I think, I can't talk for every disability. Obviously, I know for vision impairment, definitely, the loss of knowing where you are, because a person with sight gets, oh, you know, where the heck am I? And they get out the map and they work it all out. Person with disability has to do it differently, and it takes a lot longer. Yeah, we've got the tools, but you've got to know the tools exist.
Perfect example, Narelle. Yes, yes. Perfect example. So recently this year, I travelled to Bundaberg. Irony was for an eye appointment.
Yep.
From
And
Gladstone
Bundaberg's about 3 hours.
to just on two, an hour and a bit by car, but about two via train. First time I'd caught the train, was so nervous. I had to ring them 3 times, and this is when I found the platform had no tactile markers. Get to the train station, all the footpaths and things are not set up well, very rickety. You can't, it's, whilst it's simple, it's still very unsteady underfoot. Up I toddle, couldn't work out my ticket because the ticketing hadn't been sent to emails because they spelt name wrong, so human error. I then had to give her the email and go, I've already paid for it, that's fine, try this one. So they ended up finding the tickets, and then she points, just wait out there. And I'm like standing there with the cane. That was okay. Nowhere comfortable to sit and wait for someone with a disability. My partner stuck around because he was a little bit unsure. You know, train stations don't exactly have the right societal stereotypes hanging around. So safety, he was concerned about safety and risk management. Go to jump on the train, and the lady says, oh, just head up towards the end of the train is where your carriage is. And I'm like, how far down is that? She's like, oh, just go wait over there. Lucky my partner went to one of the train things, because I reckon that the train would have just left had I just been standing there. So anyway, that was fine. Jumped on, 2 hours later, jumped off the other end, says to the lady, is there anywhere to wait when I come back? She said, no, the office closes at 5. You won't be catching your train till 6:30. So that was already going to be an 11-hour wait. I ended up, the train was delayed, was 13 hours. I had to wait on the platform from 4 p.m. till 7:30 p.m., 3.5 hours, just to wait for the train, because there was nowhere safe to wait where I didn't have to walk from a pub or a sports club. 3 or 4 blocks. Bundaberg has a very high rate of, drug use, and it is unsafe in town. She then, when I got off the phone, I couldn't access my maps because my network hadn't kicked back in. So I turned my phone off, asked the lady where the council chambers were, because the only thing I could think of was to go there and get a map of the town centre, which she gave me some best direction. She said, just wander up there 10 minutes. I think she thought I was a bit slower than normal, but it was only a 3-minute walk. But lucky the council there said, oh, we have this, but I don't know how accessible it is for you. And I'm like, I don't, transport wise, that is a perfect example of digital accessibility failing a person.
So what can we as a society, what can we as a community do? From both the disability point of view and from the normal person point of view.
I think we need to be able to have, at least grace given in our plans for travel and digital access, whether we're on plans or not. There needs to be a little bit more understanding, maybe more training and orientation, maybe more experiences out and about where we can build that confidence and safety. And, maybe starting in schools before we lose those, visuals about how to navigate an area, potentially with the vision loss as well. And society doesn't talk anymore. You can sit on a train and everyone's on their phone. You can sit in a, nobody speaks to each other anymore. So the confidence level for asking for help, I don't mind, but that's not easy for everybody, particularly if you've got other hidden conditions behind that impact your confidence about asking perfect strangers for assistance. So
Jaceen, it's been interesting, our discussion. What are some takeaways that we can leave with today that could be thought-provoking, could be something very simple?
One of the biggest things is to keep having conversations with people about, digital access and the barriers faced by disability, whether it is businesses, council, medical, schools. Having those conversations, having a voice is so, so important. Raising a collective voice, I think, as well, to take that to a more systemic advocacy and awareness phase. I think they're the two biggest ones for the moment. And I guess don't let anyone tell you that your barrier doesn't matter or isn't, something that, is easily, navigated, because it isn't, it really
That's
isn't.
a good point. That is a really, really good point. Jaceen, look, thanks for coming on and thanks for talking about your experiences. How can people contact you if they would like to keep the chat going?
So I have a page called Building Blind Faith on Facebook, or there's also my name, which is Jaceen Ross, Jaceen. and Ross, ROSS. There's only one of me. Yeah. And obviously via yourself as well, Narelle, through digital access. So if anyone, wants to contact me through you, happy to receive a referral. So yeah.
Oh, thanks. So Jaceen is looking at starting up some form of resource unit up in her area. I urge everyone, regardless of disability, go and have a chat with Jaceen, because Jaceen's got some knowledge that can help our community. So that's our show for today. Thank you very much. If you like what we're doing, please review, like, subscribe, and share it. Just share it to everyone, because as Jaceen said, the more we advocate and the more we talk about the challenges, it's not just helping us, it actually helps the community, because then we become more independent. And with the aim of that, more people will get into work and you'd get some awesome workers. Because again, we didn't even touch on employability. That's another show by itself, but it does make a difference. So we'll talk to you all next time. See you around.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Narelle.